Hello everyone, I welcome you all to my next class. And last time we discussed symbolism, and today we are going to discuss rest of the poetic devices which are present in this poem. Fine? And today will be the last lecture of this poem. So, after symbolism, here we're gonna discuss imagery. ठीक है? तो इमेजरी में पहली इमेजरी जो यूज हुई है इट इज विजुअल इमेजरी. Now, in visual imagery, what happens? The picture of a particular thing is already present in your mind, and when you hear the word somewhere, when you read the word somewhere, the picture of that particular word gets displayed in front of your eyes. तो visualize कर पाते हो आप उस चीज की इमेज को, उस चीज की पिक्चर को. ठीक है. जब भी आप किसी चीज का नाम सुनते हो, उस चीज की जो इमेज होती है, उस चीज की जो पिक्चर होती है, वो ऑलरेडी आपके दिमाग में प्रेजेंट होती है. फिर जब आप वो वर्ड कहीं पे सुनते हो या देखते हो, उस चीज की जो पिक्चर होती है वो आपकी आंखों के सामने डिस्प्ले होना स्टार्ट होती है. अब इस पोएम में भी ऐसी कुछ वर्ड्स है, ऐसी कुछ इमेजरीज है, विजुअल इमेजरीज है. जब हम उन वर्ड्स को पढ़ते हैं तो उस वर्ड की जो पिक्चर हमारे दिमाग में होती है वो हम इमेजिन कर पाते हैं, वो हम विजुअलाइज कर पाते हैं. सो देयर आर फ्यू विजुअल इमेजरीज विच वी कैन विजुअलाइज, विच वी कैन सी, विच स्टार्ट गेटिंग डिस्प्लेड इन फ्रंट ऑफ आवर आईज व्हेन वी रीड देम इन दिस पर्टिकुलर पोएम. Okay, so first visual imagery that is there is when you're old and grey and full of sleep. The phrase full of sleep has the connotation of internal sensation that we can feel and imagine her tiredness at that time and when she'll be approaching death. So जहाँ पे ये when you're old and grey and full of sleep कहा गया है, we can visualize an old lady which has been talked about in this poem. And who's the old lady? It is Maud Gonne. When she'll be old, when her hair will turn grey, and when she'll be almost approaching death, when she'll not be having that stamina that she had in her youth. जब वो एक old lady होगी, उनके बाल सफ़ेद हुए होंगे, वो ऑलमोस्ट डेथ बेड पे होगी. उसके पास वो एनर्जी, वो जेस्ट, वो एंथुजियाज्म, वो स्टेमिना नहीं होगा जो उसका यूथ में हुआ करता था. तो जब हम ये वर्ड्स पढ़ते हैं, हम ये सारी चीज़ें, हम वो ओल्ड लेडी विजुअलाइज कर पाते हैं कि कैसी वो ओल्ड एज में होगी. ये पहली विजुअल इमेजरी है. सेकेंड विजुअल इमेजरी दैट इज देयर इज sorrows of your changing face. अब यहाँ पे we can again imagine that old lady whose face will be full of wrinkles. एक ऐसी ओल्ड लेडी जिसके चेहरे पे रिंकल्स होंगे, जिसके बाल सफेद हुए होंगे. सो वी कैन इमेजिन दैट लेडी ओवर हियर, वी कैन विजुअलाइज द पिक्चर ऑफ दैट काइंड ऑफ लेडी इन आवर माइंड. ठीक है. व्हाट इज रिटन ओवर हियर? And loved the sorrow of your changing face has the connotation of sight, where a reader can imagine poet's beloved getting old and her beauty getting faded away. Isn't it understood? Next. इसके अलावा जो वर्ड्स यूज किए हैं विच वी कैन विजुअलाइज, जिन्हें हम इमेजिन कर पाएंगे, वो कौन से वर्ड्स हैं? क्राउड ऑफ स्टार्स, अच्छे से इमेजिन कर पाएंगे हम स्टार्स को. माउंटेन, glowing bars. What is glowing bars? It is fireplace or hearth. Then you can imagine book, a lady reading a book, isn't it? Apart from that, you can imagine while she'll be sitting in, one second, while she'll be sitting in her chair reading that book. So all those things are also the examples of visual imagery. Apart from visual imagery, there is kinesthetic imagery also in the poem. अब kinesthetic imagery क्या है? It pertains to movements, जो मैंने आपको already समझा दिया है when I had discussed the poetic devices of miracles and the poem prayer. ठीक है. अगर आपने वो दो वीडियोस नहीं देखी है, पहले आप वो दो वीडियोस देखो एंड देन वॉच दिस पर्टिकुलर वीडियो, क्योंकि मैंने आई हैव डिस्कस्ड ईच एंड एवरी पोएटिक डिवाइस significantly and deeply in those two poems. Fine. तो किनेस्थेटिक में क्या देखते हैं हम? इट पर्टेन्स टू मूवमेंट्स, मोशंस. व्हेनेवर एनी लिविंग और नॉन लिविंग थिंग मेक्स अ मूवमेंट, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज किनेस्थेटिक इमेजरी. नाउ नॉडिंग बाय द फायर. नॉडिंग मीन्स मूविंग हेड अप एंड डाउन. सो वो एक मूवमेंट है. तो व्हेन Mordgon will be sitting in her chair in her old age, before the fire, she'll be nodding her head while she'll be sleeping. ठीक है, जब वो सो रही होंगी अपनी ओल्ड एज में, तो while sleeping उनका जो हेड मूवमेंट होगा, that is the example of kinesthetic imagery. ठीक. Next, murmur a little sadly. Murmur means speak softly. So when you'll be murmuring, when somebody will be speaking, उसमें क्या चाहिए होगा? Movement of lips, isn't it? तो जहां पर भी कहीं मूवमेंट आती है, कोई मूवमेंट ऑफ लिविंग बीइंग्स और नॉन लिविंग थिंग्स, एनीथिंग, that is the visual, sorry, that is the kinesthetic imagery. So though there are there are three kinesthetic imageries. One is nodding by the fire, second is murmur a little sadly, और तीसरा है bending down. The third kinesthetic imagery is bending down. I will show you that in the stanza over here. See, in this third stanza, when poet says, and bending down beside the glowing bars. So obviously when you will be bending down, उसमें तो movement of back will be required, isn't it? तो जहां पर भी आप मूवमेंट की बात करो, यहां पर मूवमेंट ऑफ बैक चाहिए जब आप बेंड करते हो, तो हुआ ना एग्जाम्पल किनेस्थेटिक इमेजरी का. ओके, नेक्स्ट, organic imagery. Organic imagery pertains to emotions and feelings in the form of love, pain, sadness, happiness, thirst, anger, any kind of feeling, any kind of emotion, pertains to organic imagery. Now, is organic imagery present in the poem? Of course, not in just one verse, not in just two, not in just three, or not in a particular stanza, but it has been used throughout the poem. It has been used throughout the poem, because right from the first verse to the last, poet is talking about his emotions and his feelings that he has within him towards Mordgon. जो poets के emotions है, जो उसकी feelings है, the love that he has towards Mordgon is expressed in this poetry, right from the first verse to the last one. इसीलिए हम कहते हैं कि organic imagery is used throughout the poem. ठीक है? Next is personification. अब personification होता क्या है? See, when you add human traits or living traits, to whom? To non-living things और inanimate objects. Inanimate objects कौन से होते हैं? जैसे कि कार्टून्स देखते हो आप, वो सारे inanimate objects होते हैं. ठीक है? तो जब हम उन कार्टून्स को लिविंग ट्रेट्स देते हैं, फॉर एग्जाम्पल दे वॉक, अगर आप टॉम एंड जेरी के एग्जाम्पल लोगे, take an example of Tom and Jerry. They walk, they talk to each other, they eat, they do everything that a human does, that a living being does, isn't it? तो वो कार्टून जो नॉन लिविंग थिंग्स है, इनएनिमेट ऑब्जेक्ट्स हैं, उन्हें जब हम ह्यूमन ट्रेट्स देते हैं, उन्हें जब हम लिविंग ट्रेट्स देते हैं, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज personification, because those cartoons are personified. Similarly, when we add human traits or living traits to any non-living object, वो क्या, उसे क्या बोलते हैं? What is it called as? Personification. अब यहाँ पे what is personified? When poet says love fled, we say love is personified. How? See, all of you know love is a feeling. It's an abstract noun, isn't it? Love is a feeling. It's an abstract noun. So, love cannot fly. Have you ever seen love flying? No. But it has been compared to a bird here, because birds fly. So, bird क्या है? एक living thing है कि नहीं? उसमें जान है कि नहीं? तो बर्ड की जो वो लिविंग एट्रीब्यूट है, वो लिविंग ट्रेट है, वो किसको दी गई है? वो लव को, वो इस वर्ड को दी गई है, विच इज जस्ट अ फीलिंग. So a living trait, a living attribute is given to love. So we can say love is personified in this poem. Because the poet says love fled, or love cannot fly, but it is personified. It has been compared to a bird, and the living trait of a bird is given to love, through which we can say love is personified. इस तरह से personification has been used in this poem. As we know, love is a feeling, but it has been personified as the poet says that the love fled high above the mountains. Understood? Okay, next is alliteration. Now what is alliteration? मैंने आपको पहले ही बोला है, when two or more than two neighboring words, when two or more than two neighboring words start with the same initial consonant sound, that is called as alliteration. Fine. अब यहाँ पे इस poem में there is only one example of alliteration, and that is in the second stanza. Which is glad grace. Both these words start with the same initial consonant sound, that is g sound, isn't it? Glad and grace. So both these neighboring words start with the same initial consonant sound, which is g. तो क्या कहा मैंने? एलिट्रेशन में दो या दो से ज्यादा वर्ड जो एक साथ होंगे, एक ही वर्ड्स में होंगे, जब वो सेम कॉन्सोनेंट साउंड से स्टार्ट होंगे, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज एलिट्रेशन. और यहाँ पे एक ही एग्जांपल है एलिट्रेशन की, जो कि सेकंड स्टैंजा में है, सेकंड स्टैंजा के फर्स्ट वर्ड्स में है. ग्लैड ग्रेस, ये दोनों वर्ड्स किससे स्टार्ट होते हैं? घ साउंड से, विच इज अ कॉन्सोनेंट साउंड. सो वी कैन से ग्लैड ग्रेस इज द एग्जांपल ऑफ एलिट्रेशन. ओके, नेक्स्ट. रेपिटेशन इज वेरी इजी. जहां पर भी आप देखोगे वर्ड्स और फ्रेजेस have been repeated in the poem, that is called as repetition. So the words like, and, loved, of, your, how, the, etc. have been repeatedly used in the poem. So we can say these are the words which have been repeated in the poem, and hence repetition is there in the poem. Okay, sixth one. Sixth one is the metaphor. अब मेटाफर में क्या होता है? यू ऑल नो, मेटाफर में कंपैरिजन होता है. किन के बीच में होता है? टू अनलाइक थिंग्स, एंड दैट टू विदाउट यूजिंग वर्ड्स लाइक एज और लाइक, इजंट इट? अब यहाँ पे क्या कंपेयर किया गया है? फर्स्ट, लव हैज बीन कंपेयर्ड टू अ स्टार. Poet's love and poet himself, not only just poet's love, but poet himself has been compared to a star. Poet's love और poet खुद किससे कंपेयर किया गया है? स्टार से. अब पोएट और पोएट का लव जो भी है वो स्टार तो है नहीं, ये दोनों अनलाइक चीजें हैं, बट इनको जब कंपेयर करेंगे तो ऑब्वियसली वी कैन से मेटाफर हैज बीन यूज्ड इन दी पोएम, इजंट इट? सो नाउ हाउ इज लव compared to a star? When we say Maud Gonne will be reading poet's poems in her old age, and at that time when she'll realize poet's love, how much poet had loved her throughout his life, at that time she'll understand what she has lost in her life, what she has let go of in her life, and at that time she won't be able to get Yeats' love back in her life, isn't it? Why? Because Yeats' love would have become a star and would have fled high above the mountains and would disappear or vanish somewhere in the sky. So वैसे poet's love has been compared to a star. It will be there like a star. Like जैसे stars होते हैं, star is there in the sky, we can see it, but we can't reach up to it. Similarly, poet's love will be there in the sky, for Morgan, but she can see it, but she cannot reach up to it. She cannot touch it. She cannot get that star. She cannot get poet's love back into her life. अंडरस्टूड. तो लव कैसे कंपेयर किया गया है स्टार से? जैसे कि हम स्टार्स को देख पाते हैं, वो स्काई में होते हैं, हम उन्हें सिर्फ देख सकते हैं, हमें पता है कि वो वहां है, लेकिन उन्हें हम छू नहीं सकते, उन तक हम पहुंच नहीं सकते. सिमिलरली पोएट्स लव जो है, या पोएट खुद आफ्टर हिज डेथ, he will become a star, as it is said, when man dies he becomes a star. So poet Morgan उसे देख सकती है, उसे पता होगा कि पोएट यीट वहां है, यीट्स वहां पे है, बट वो ही उसके पास कभी पहुंच नहीं पाएंगी, वो कभी उसको वापस अपनी लाइफ में ला नहीं पाएगी. Got it? So that is how poet's love and poet himself has been compared to a star. The poet has compared his love to a star and tries to tell us that as stars are always there but are distant from us, hence making it impossible for us to reach to them. Similarly, poet's love for Morgan will always be there but will be distant from her like a star. Another example, okay, यहाँ तक आपको समझ आ गया. अब जो दूसरी example है of metaphor, that is shadows deep. Now shadows deep has been compared to eyes, which are deep, dark and attractive. Why are they compared to eyes? Because these eyes are, one second, what happened to it, just a second, because Morgan's eyes are black in color. So because of the color of her eyes, which are dark, which are deep and attractive and beautiful, because of those traits, eyes have been compared to the shadows deep. Shadow is always black in color, so are Morgan's eyes. That is why eyes have been compared to shadows deep. इसीलिए ये दूसरा मेटाफर है इस पोएम में. शैडो हमेशा काले रंग का होता है और मॉर्गन की आईज जो है वो ब्लैक कलर की है. दे आर डीप, दे आर डार्क, एंड विच मेक्स हर आईज ब्यूटिफुल एंड अट्रैक्टिव. इस तरह से शैडोज डीप को कंपेयर किया गया है आईज से. अंडरस्टूड हाउ मेटाफर हैज बीन यूज्ड. I have mentioned only two metaphors over here, but one more metaphor which is present in the poem. I am not able to change the slide. Just a second. Another metaphor which has been used in this poem is love, which has been compared to a bird. ये मैंने आपको personification के time भी बोला था. Love has been compared to bird because it has been given birds' traits, the living traits of birds, isn't it? So love is another metaphor used in this poem. So these were the 6 poetic devices which are important to you from the examination point of view. Apart from these poetic devices, there are few more poetic devices which I would like to discuss with you in this video only. I have explained the definitions of all those poetic devices in the last 2 poems, which are Miracles and Prayer. Fine? So यहाँ पे I'll just point them out for you. For example, anaphora is there. This is the 7th poetic device. Anaphora. अब होता क्या है anaphora? When 2 or more than 2 consecutive verses start with the same word. जब 2 या 2 से ज़्यादा verses same word से start होंगे, that is anaphora. If you will see this stanza, the second and the third verse start with the same word and, isn't it? So this is anaphora. This is the example of anaphora, apart from these 2 examples. In stanza 3, see, third and the fourth verse start with the same word and again. So it too is an example of anaphora. Understood? Okay. इसके बाद एक और poetic device है. One second. Okay. 8th one. Antithesis. What do you mean by antithesis? When 2 opposite words are used in the same verse. जब दो ऑपोजिट वर्ड्स एक ही वर्ड्स में यूज किए होंगे, ऐसा नहीं कि एक वर्ड यहाँ पे यूज किया है पहली वर्ड्स में, दूसरा लास्ट वर्ड्स में यूज किया गया होगा. नो, दे शुड बी यूज्ड इन द सेम वर्ड्स. दैट इज कॉल्ड एज anaphora. 1 second, let me erase it. Sorry, that is called as antithesis. Okay, something is wrong with this. Okay, तो यहाँ पे कोई एग्जाम्पल है एंटीथेसिस की? इज देयर एनी एग्जाम्पल ऑफ एंटीथेसिस इन दिस पर्टिकुलर स्टैंजा? यस, इन द सेकेंड वर्स. आई एम नॉट एबल टू राइट. 1 second. फॉल्स और ट्रू. ट्रू और फॉल्स क्या है? सच या झूठ, isn't it? So these are the two opposite words which are used in this particular verse. So it becomes the example of antithesis. एक ही वर्ड्स में दो ऑपोजिट वर्ड्स यूज किए गए हैं, इसीलिए ये एग्जाम्पल बनती है किसकी? एंटीथेसिस की. इसके अलावा rhetorical question, 9th poetic device. Rhetorical question. Okay, so rhetorical question क्या होता है? What do you mean by rhetorical question? When a poet writes a particular verse in the form of a question. So जब एक particular verse किस form में लिखा गया होगा? Question form में लिखा गया होगा. Not to look for an answer, but to make a point. इसलिए नहीं वो क्वेश्चन पूछा गया होता है कि उसको आंसर चाहिए होता है पोएट को. नो, बट पोएट वांट्स टू मेक अ point. He wants to emphasize on a particular fact. He wants to focus. He wants to grab the audience's attention towards that particular point, towards that particular verse. तभी वो उसको किस फॉर्म में रखता है? क्वेश्चन फॉर्म में. So when a particular verse is used in the form of a question, not to look for an answer, but to make a point, to emphasize upon a fact, that is called as rhetorical question or rhetorical device. ठीक? So here in stanza 2, in first verse of stanza 2, how many loved your moments of glad grace? Although there isn't the note of interrogation, there isn't the note of interrogation over here, but still it is a question, not asked for an answer particularly, but to make a point over here that there were thousands of men who loved Mortgon, fine, who admired Mortgon. This is what poet tries to tell in this particular verse. So it is an example of rhetorical question. ठीक है? Next poetic device is, 1 second, just a second. Okay, 10th one is ode. अब ode क्या होता है? What do you mean by ode? When a poem is dedicated to someone or something, a living being or a non-living thing, that is an ode. And how is ode different from hymn? Hymn is a poem of worship, which is devoted to God only. Okay, which is completely, wholly and solely devoted to God. But ode can be dedicated to any non-living thing also, or to any non-living thing or to any living thing also. ठीक है? So this poem is dedicated to Mortgon. Every one of us knows that. This poem is dedicated to Mortgon, so we can say it is an ode. So this is the 10th poetic device which is over here, which is present in this poem. Okay, the 11th one. The 11th poetic device which is there is hyperbole. What is it? Hyperbole. अब hyperbole क्या होता है? It talks about exaggeration. When things are exaggerated in the poem, जब किसी चीज को एक पोएम में बढ़ा चढ़ा के बोला गया हो, that is what hyperbole is. अब यहाँ पे what has been exaggerated? I have already explained all these poetic devices in the last two videos. I'm telling it again and again. If you don't know the meaning of these poetic devices, go and watch those videos first and then watch this particular video. So यहाँ पे why is hyperbole present in this poem? Because what has been exaggerated here? It is the concept or feeling of love. The concept of feeling of love has been exaggerated. In this poem. The way poet has talked about his feelings, about his emotions, about his love that he has for Modgon, that has been exaggerated in this poem. He compares his love with something which is pilgrim. The way a pilgrim place is pure, it is spiritual, it is divine, isn't it? He compares his love to that pilgrim place, to that pilgrim thing, and says that his love is as pure as any pilgrim soul, as any pilgrim place. So this is how he has exaggerated his feeling of love. He calls his love so divine, so spiritual, that it is as pure as any pilgrim thing, be it a soul or be it the monument, any pilgrim. Okay, and not only his love, he has compared his beloved also. And who is his beloved? It is Modgon. He has compared Modgon to something so pure, something so divine, which says that the concept or feeling of love has been exaggerated. Only the person who loves someone so much only he can compare his beloved to something so pure and divine. So this is how we can say that hyperbole has been used in this particular poem. Fine. Twelfth one. One second. 12th one. It is rhyme scheme. Because it is not free words, there is rhyme scheme present in the poem. So we can say rhyme scheme, the poetic device rhyme scheme is present in this poem. ठीक है? और कौन सा rhyme scheme use किया गया है? See, in first stanza, first verse rhymes with last one, and second verse rhymes with third one. So we can say ABBA rhyme scheme has been used. In the second stanza, again the same rhyme scheme is followed. CDD C, because first verse rhymes with the last one, second verse rhymes with the third one. So C, D, D, C. And in the third one, again same rhyme scheme has been followed, because the same rhyme scheme is followed throughout the poem. Otherwise there are few poems in which scattered rhyme scheme is followed. ठीक है? किसी एक स्टैंजा में एक rhyme scheme होती है, किसी दूसरे स्टैंजा में दूसरी rhyme scheme होती है, उसे हम scattered rhyme scheme बोलते हैं. लेकिन इस poem में the same rhyme scheme has been followed right from first stanza to the last one. और जो तीसरा stanza है उसमें EFFE rhyme scheme, because the first verse rhymes with last one, second verse rhymes with third one. Understood? Okay. After that, okay, and the last poetic device which is present in this poem is enjambment, the easiest one. क्या होता है enjambment? When one verse is associated with the other one in terms of meaning in such a way that the meaning of one verse cannot be understood without getting the meaning of the verse above it or below it. ये तो सबको पता है. कि दो वर्सेस, दो या दो से ज्यादा वर्सेस जब एसोसिएटेड होते हैं एक दूसरे के साथ, उनके मीनिंग्स कनेक्टेड होते हैं एक दूसरे के साथ इन सच अ वे कि हम एक का मीनिंग नहीं समझ पाएंगे तब तक जब तक कि हमें दूसरे का मीनिंग नहीं पता होगा। वो वर्ड्स उसके पहले भी हो सकता है या उसके बाद भी हो सकता है। ठीक है, सो हियर वी कांट से एंजार्बमेंट हैज बीन यूज्ड in the first stanza or in the second or in the third. Here, enjambment has been used right from first verse to the last one because every verse is connected with the other verse. Every verse is connected with each other. ठीक है, every verse starts with and, how, but. So when you use conjunctions between the two sentences, that means they are connected with each other, isn't it? आप ऐसे ही and से sentence तो start नहीं कर सकते हो, क्या समझ आएगा आपको and से या but से, isn't it? तो इसका मतलब ये है कि जब तक वो सेंटेंस, जब तक वो वर्ड्स कनेक्टेड नहीं है उसके पहले वाले सेंटेंस से, उसके पहले वाले वर्ड से, तब तक जब तक हमें उसके पहले वाले वर्ड्स का मीनिंग समझ में नहीं आएगा, हम इस वर्ड्स का मीनिंग नहीं समझ पाएंगे जो एंड से स्टार्ट होता है, जो बट से स्टार्ट होता है। अंडरस्टूड? सो enjambment has been used in this poem right from first verse to the last one because every verse is connected with each other in terms of their meaning. We cannot understand the meaning of any verse in this poem without getting the meaning of the first verse and then the lines, the verses, the stanzas which are associated with it. So this was enjambment for you, and this brings us to the end of this poem. I hope you have understood each and everything. Even if you haven't, even if there is any confusion in your minds, there are some doubts in your mind, you can write that in the comment section. I'm going to answer each and every question of yours. Till then, take care. Allah Hafiz. Bye bye.